Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Learn English with Podcast. My name is Nikki.
And I'm Tony. Thanks for joining us today. We're really excited because we have a fantastic topic for you. Today, we're going to talk about sleep well.
Yes, sleep well. It's such an important topic, Tony. Good sleep can make a big difference in how you feel and how you do things every day. Whether you're a student, a worker, or just trying to enjoy your life, sleep is key.
That's right, Nikki. We all need good sleep to feel our best and be at our best. So today we're going to share some tips, benefits, and techniques to help you sleep better. And we have some special guests who will share their own sleep stories too.
Exactly. But before we get to our guests, let's talk a bit about our own sleep experiences. Tony, how do you usually sleep? Do you have any tips for our listeners?
Well, Nikki, I try to go to bed at the same time every night. It helps my body know when it's time to sleep. Having a regular sleep schedule can really make a difference. Also, I don't use my phone or watch TV before bed because the light can keep me awake. I've read that the blue light from screens can trick your brain into thinking it's still daytime.
That's a great tip, Tony. I do something similar. I like to read a book before bed. It helps me relax and get ready to sleep. There's something about holding a real book and turning the pages that makes me feel calm and ready to drift off.
Reading is a great idea, Nikki. But sometimes I have trouble sleeping, especially when I'm stressed. What about you, Nikki? Do you ever have trouble sleeping?
Oh, absolutely. Stress can make it really hard to sleep. When that happens, I try to take deep breaths and think about nice things. It helps me calm down. Sometimes I even listen to soft music or nature sounds. It's like creating a peaceful environment for my mind.
That sounds very relaxing, Nikki. Deep breathing and soft music are great techniques. For me, if I'm feeling really stressed, I sometimes do a little bit of light stretching before bed. It helps release the tension from my muscles and makes me feel more comfortable.
That's a good one, Tony. Stretching can really help. And speaking of techniques, we'll hear from some guests today who will share their own sleep stories and tips. But first, let's talk a bit more about why sleep is so important.
Good idea. Sleep helps us recover and get ready for a new day. It's like charging your phone. If you don't charge it, it won't work well. And during sleep, our bodies repair themselves, and our brains process the information we've learned throughout the day.
Exactly. Did you know that sleep can help you learn better? When you sleep, your brain processes what you learn during the day. So, if our listeners are learning English, good sleep can help them remember new words and phrases better.
That's interesting, Nikki. So, sleep doesn't just help us feel better, it also helps us think better and learn better. And good sleep can also help with your mood. When you sleep well, you feel happier and less stressed.
Absolutely, Tony. I feel much better after a good night's sleep. It's easier to be positive and deal with challenges when you're well rested. And we have some funny stories to share about sleep too. Like that time I fell asleep on the bus and missed my stop.
Oh no. That must have been funny and annoying at the same time. Did you have to walk a long way back?
Yes, I did. But it taught me to get enough sleep so I don't doze off in public places. It shows how important sleep is. When you don't get enough, funny things can happen.
Absolutely. And sometimes we might have dreams that make us laugh or feel strange when we wake up. Do you have any funny dream stories, Nikki?
Yes. Dreams can be really funny sometimes. Like that dream I had about flying and eating giant cookies. It was so strange but hilarious.
Wow, that sounds like a fun dream. All right, everyone. Stay tuned because we're going to hear some interesting sleep stories from our guests. They'll share their tips and experiences with us, and we'll have some questions and discussions too.
Yes, we have some great guests lined up. They have some amazing stories and tips to help you sleep better. We're excited to introduce our first guest today. Her name is Carol Thompson. She is a sleep specialist and has a lot of great advice for us. Hi, Dr. Carol. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nikki and Tony.
Hi, Dr. Carol. We're happy to have you here. So, tell us a little about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Boston, and I work as a sleep specialist at a clinic. I help people improve their sleep quality and manage sleep disorders.
That sounds interesting, Dr. Carol. So, how can our listeners improve their sleep quality? Do you have any special tips or advice?
Absolutely. One important tip is to keep your bedroom cool. A cooler room temperature helps your body relax and fall asleep faster. Ideally, keep your room between 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's a great tip, Dr. Carol. I've noticed I sleep better when it's cool. Do you have any other recommendations?
Yes. Another tip is to have a relaxing bedtime routine. This could include activities like taking a warm bath, listening to soothing music, or doing some gentle yoga. These activities can signal to your body that it's time to wind down.
A warm bath sounds very relaxing. I'll have to try that. What about food and drink? Are there any things we should avoid before bed?
Definitely. It's best to avoid large meals, caffeine, and alcohol before bed. Large meals can cause discomfort and make it hard to sleep. Caffeine and alcohol can interfere with your sleep cycle, even if you fall asleep quickly after consuming them.
That's good to know. Sometimes I have a coffee in the evening and wonder why I can't sleep. Do you have any other tips?
Yes. One more important tip is to get some sunlight during the day. Exposure to natural light helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle. Try to spend at least 30 minutes outside each day.
Sunlight is so important. I try to take a walk every morning. What about dealing with noise? Sometimes my neighborhood is very noisy.
That's a common issue. Using earplugs or a white noise machine can help block out disturbing sounds. White noise machines create a steady, soothing sound that can mask other noises.
That's a great solution. I've heard about white noise machines but never tried one. Do you have any stories about how these tips have helped your patients?
Yes. I had a patient who was struggling with insomnia due to stress at work. We worked on creating a cool, comfortable sleep environment and established a relaxing bedtime routine. After a few weeks, she started sleeping much better and felt more refreshed during the day.
That's wonderful to hear, Dr. Carol. It shows how small changes can make a big difference. How did you discover these techniques?
Through years of research and working with patients. It's important to understand that everyone is different. So it's about finding what works best for each individual.
Great advice, Dr. Carol. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Before you go, can you give our listeners one final tip for better sleep?
Sure. I would say try to keep your bedroom for sleep only. Avoid doing work or watching TV in bed. This helps your brain associate the bedroom with sleep, making it easier to fall asleep when you're there.
That's a wonderful tip, Dr. Carol. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your experiences and advice.
Thank you for having me. I hope my tips help your listeners sleep better.
I'm sure they will.
That was a great conversation with Dr. Carol. She shared some really useful tips and techniques for better sleep. What did you think, Tony?
I think Dr. Carol had some excellent advice. The idea of keeping the bedroom cool and having a relaxing bedtime routine was especially interesting.
Yes, definitely. And now, let's talk about some new words and expressions we learned during our conversation with Dr. Carol. Here are 4 important ones.
Cool temperature. Dr. Carol mentioned that keeping your bedroom cool helps you sleep better. For example, I sleep better when my bedroom is at a cool temperature.
Bedtime routine. This is a series of activities you do before bed to help you relax. For example, my bedtime routine includes reading a book and taking a warm bath.
White noise machine. This is a device that produces a steady, soothing sound to mask other noises. For example, I use a white noise machine to block out the noise from the street.
Natural light. Sunlight that helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle. For example, getting natural light during the day can improve your sleep at night.
These are all great words and expressions to know. And remember, it's important to practice using them in your own sentences to help you remember.
Exactly, Tony. Practice makes perfect. Now, we're excited to introduce our second guest today. His name is Colin. and he has an interesting story about how he improved his sleep. Hi, Colin. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nikki and Tony. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Colin. We're happy to have you. So, tell us a little about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Chicago, and I work as a software engineer. My job requires a lot of focus and concentration, so getting good sleep is really important for me.
That sounds demanding, Colin. Can you tell us about your sleep journey? How did you realize you needed to make changes?
Sure. A few years ago, I was really struggling with insomnia. I would lie in bed for hours, unable to fall asleep, and it was affecting my work and mood. I knew I had to do something.
Insomnia can be really tough. What steps did you take to improve your sleep?
The first thing I did was create a sleep journal. Every night, I wrote down what time I went to bed, what I did before bed, and how well I slept. This helped me see patterns and identify what was affecting my sleep.
That's a great idea, Colin. A sleep journal can really help you understand your sleep habits. What did you find out from your journal?
I noticed that on nights when I exercised, I slept better. So I started going for a run or doing some light exercise in the evening, but not too close to bedtime.
Exercise is a great way to improve sleep. Did you make any other changes?
Yes, I also started using aromatherapy. I bought a diffuser and used essential oils like lavender and chamomile. The calming scents helped me relax and fall asleep faster.
Aromatherapy sounds wonderful. Lavender is known for its relaxing properties. Did you change anything about your sleep environment?
Absolutely. I invested in a good mattress and pillows. Having a comfortable bed made a huge difference. I also made sure my room was clean and clutter-free, which helped create a peaceful atmosphere.
A good mattress and pillows can really make a difference. How long did it take for you to notice improvements in your sleep?
It took a few weeks, but gradually I started falling asleep faster and sleeping more deeply. I felt more rested and had more energy during the day.
That's fantastic, Colin. Your story shows that making small changes can lead to big improvements. Do you have any final tips for our listeners?
Yes. One last tip is to avoid naps during the day, especially long ones. Napping can make it harder to fall asleep at night. If you need to nap, keep it short, around 20 to 30 minutes.
That's great advice, Colin. Thank you so much for sharing your story and tips with us today.
Thank you for having me. I hope my experience helps others improve their sleep too.
I'm sure it will. That was a great conversation with Colin. He shared some really useful tips and techniques for better sleep. What did you think, Tony?
I think Colin had some excellent advice. The idea of keeping a sleep journal and using aromatherapy was especially interesting.
Yes, definitely. And now, let's talk about some new words and expressions we learned during our conversation with Colin. Here are 4 important ones.
Sleep journal. A diary where you write down your sleep habits and patterns. For example, keeping a sleep journal helped me understand what affects my sleep.
Aromatherapy. The use of essential oils to promote health and well-being. For example, using aromatherapy with lavender oil helps me relax before bed.
Essential oils. Concentrated extracts from plants used in aromatherapy. For example, lavender and chamomile are popular essential oils for relaxation.
Clutter-free. An environment without mess or unnecessary items. For example, keeping my bedroom clutter-free helps me feel more relaxed and ready for sleep.
These are all great words and expressions to know. And remember, it's important to practice using them in your own sentences to help you remember.
Exactly, Tony. Practice makes perfect. Now, we're excited to introduce our third guest today. Her name is Helen, and she has some innovative sleep solutions to share. Hi, Helen. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nikki and Tony. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, Helen. We're happy to have you. So, tell us a little about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Seattle, and I'm a wellness coach. I help people develop healthy habits, including better sleep practices.
That sounds fascinating, Helen. Can you tell us about your approach to improving sleep? What unique tips do you have for our listeners?
Absolutely. One technique I recommend is progressive muscle relaxation. This involves tensing and then slowly relaxing each muscle group in your body. It helps release tension and prepares your body for sleep.
Progressive muscle relaxation sounds very effective. Can you explain how our listeners can try this at home?
Sure. You can start by lying down in a comfortable position. Begin with your toes, tense them for a few seconds, and then slowly relax. Move up to your calves, thighs, and so on until you reach your head. It usually takes about 10 to 15 minutes.
That's a great technique, Helen. What other methods do you recommend for better sleep?
Another method is to create a sleep-friendly environment by using soft lighting. Avoid bright lights before bedtime. You can use dim lamps or even salt lamps, which provide a warm, soothing glow.
Soft lighting can definitely set the mood for sleep. What about using technology to improve sleep?
Yes, technology can be a double-edged sword. While screens can disrupt sleep, there are apps designed to help you sleep better. For example, there are apps that play calming sounds, guide you through meditation, or help track your sleep patterns.
That's interesting. Can you recommend any specific apps that you find useful?
Sure. One app I recommend is Calm. It offers guided meditations, sleep stories, and relaxing music. Another good one is Sleep Cycle, which analyzes your sleep patterns and wakes you up during your lightest sleep phase, making you feel more refreshed.
Those sound like great tools. Do you have any personal stories about how these techniques have helped you or your clients?
Yes, I had a client who struggled with insomnia for years. We implemented progressive muscle relaxation and used a soft lighting setup. We also started using the Calm app. Within a month, her sleep improved dramatically, and she felt much more energetic during the day.
That's amazing, Helen. It shows how combining different techniques can really make a difference. Do you have any final tips for our listeners?
Yes. One last tip is to avoid checking the clock if you wake up during the night. Watching the time can create stress and make it harder to fall back asleep. Instead, try to stay calm and focus on your breathing.
Great advice, Helen. Thank you so much for sharing your tips and experiences with us today.
Thank you for having me. I hope my tips help your listeners sleep better.
I'm sure they will. That was a great conversation with Helen. She shared some really useful tips and techniques for better sleep. What did you think, Tony?
I think Helen had some excellent advice. The idea of progressive muscle relaxation and using soft lighting was especially interesting.
Yes, definitely. And now, let's talk about some new words and expressions we learned during our conversation with Helen. Here are 4 important ones.
Progressive muscle relaxation, a technique that involves tensing and then relaxing each muscle group to reduce tension and promote sleep. For example, progressive muscle relaxation helps me release tension before bed.
Soft lighting. Lighting that is gentle and not too bright, which helps create a relaxing atmosphere. For example, using soft lighting in the evening can help you relax and prepare for sleep.
Calm app, an application designed to help with meditation, sleep stories, and relaxing music. For example, the Calm app has guided meditations that help me fall asleep.
Sleep Cycle app. An app that tracks your sleep patterns and wakes you up during your lightest sleep phase. For example, the Sleep Cycle app helps me wake up feeling refreshed.
These are all great words and expressions to know. And remember, it's important to practice using them in your own sentences to help you remember.
Exactly, Tony. Practice makes perfect. We've had such an informative and interesting episode today. We've learned so much about improving sleep from our guests. What were your favorite tips, Tony?
I really like Dr. Carroll's advice about keeping the bedroom cool and having a relaxing bedtime routine. And Colin's idea of using aromatherapy was something I'm definitely going to try.
Yes, those were great. I also loved Helen's tips on progressive muscle relaxation and using technology like the Calm app. All these tips can really help our listeners improve their sleep.
Absolutely. So, to summarize, Here are a few final tips for our listeners.
Keep your bedroom cool. A cool environment helps you sleep better.
Have a relaxing bedtime routine. Activities like reading, taking a warm bath, or listening to soft music can help.
Avoid screens before bed. The blue light from screens can interfere with your sleep.
Try aromatherapy. Essential oils like lavender can help you relax.
Use sleep apps. Apps like Calm and Sleep Cycle can assist with meditation and tracking your sleep patterns.
Avoid checking the clock at night. It can create stress and make it harder to fall back asleep.
Great tips, Tony. We hope these suggestions help all our listeners get better sleep and feel more rested. Thank you to our guests, Dr. Carol, Colin, and Helen, for sharing their insights. Great tips.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. We hope you found this episode helpful. If you have any questions or tips of your own, feel free to reach out to us.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, sleep well and stay healthy.
Goodbye, everyone.